Hello and welcome to the Duluth Air Spectacular presented by Enbridge. I'm Jason Vincent here at the Fitkers Courtyard on the Boat Club Restaurant patio. I'm going to be your host for the next hour as we talk about all of the fun ways that it took to get this show off the ground. We're going to be having a beautiful show from the Canadian Force Snowbirds over beautiful Lake Superior. Over the next hour, we're going to be hearing from both local and international officials about this exciting day and everything that it took to make it happen. We'll be talking with a snowbird here that is with us, as well as the Canadian Consul General, who is here in Duluth for this special day. Plus, you'll be hearing from Duluth's Mayor and St. Louis County Commissioner Annie Harla. Now, today's pre-show is being live streamed at DuluthAirSpectacular.com and on the Duluth Air Spectacular social media channels. You can also listen to today's show by tuning into 560 AM or 106.3 FM on the Northland Fan starting at about 4:30. If you need any Duluth Air Spectacular information about today's performance, please visit the DuluthAirSpectacular.com website for viewing locations and all event information. And speaking of viewing opportunities, if you have not found yours yet, take a look at this map of today's Duluth Air Spectacular viewing area. You can view today's show by land or by water. If you're out on the water, though, please make sure to pay close attention to the area that you are not allowed to boat. On land, the best overall views will be on the Lake Walk for the areas below Superior Street in Canal Park. If you're looking for a higher vantage point, check out the area of Skyline Parkway to the east of Mesaba Avenue. That might be just the perfect area for you. Please help us by thanking the following partners who have made this event free for our Twin Ports community. Our presenting sponsor for the Air Spectacular is Enbridge Energy. We have commander-level partners, the City of Duluth, St. Louis County, Michaels, J.R. Jensen Construction. We also have corporate-level partners, Northland Fans, Cirrus Aircraft, Minnesota Power, Duluth Chariot Chamber of Commerce, Essentia Health, and Arrowhead Printing. Our community-level partners for today are the Boat Club Restaurant and Bar, RBC Wealth Management, Pier B Resort, Synovus Energy, Consul General of Canada in Minneapolis, Fitkers, Grandma Saloon and Grill, Apex, LHB, and Northland Fitness. The Air Spectacular is produced by Kern & Company. Well, the Canadian Force Snowbirds are a rare performance here in Duluth. They have not done a Lake Superior show in 16 years. Yes, way back in 2008. The Canadian Force Snowbirds performances use 9 planes, more than the Air Force Thunderbirds or the U.S. Navy Blue Angels. So joining me live is a member of that amazing team. We have Captain Richard McDougall with us today. Come on up. Thank you for being a part of the show today.
Thanks for having us.
So tell us a little bit about your performance today here in Duluth.
Well, in today's performance, we're celebrating our RCAF, the Royal Canadian Air Force's 100th year. So we have a few maneuvers that are going to highlight that this year. One of them is called the Centennial Split, and as well as some maneuvers we've seen in years past, and a couple surprises as well.
Besides the pilots that we'll see in the air, who makes up the Snowbird team?
Well, I think one of the most important parts of the Snowbird team are our technicians on the ground. So we have a large team of technicians at the airport that make our aircraft available and ready to fly for the performances. And as well for who's in the air, we've got our boss, Snowbird 1, 1 through 11. We've got inner pilots, outer pilots, our STEM cats in the middle, and some solos. And then Ed and I on the ground as your safety pilots.
So you travel to air shows all over the place. How does a team prepare for the different topography and situations that you're going to encounter, especially being over Lake Superior?
Well, at the end of our training season, we spend 3 weeks in British Columbia. So we go from Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, and the prairies, as flat as it can be, and we'll go and train over water and in the mountains to really prepare for shows like this. So this is exactly the scenario that we train for.
Can you tell us about the aircraft that the Snowbirds will be flying in?
Yes, so we're flying the CT-114 Tudor. It's an aircraft that we've had since the beginning of the team, and it's an aircraft that the Royal Canadian Air Force used until the year 2000 for all of the pilot training. So if you were a pilot in the military, getting trained up into that point, you would have flown that jet. And we have kept it as part of our demonstration team until today.
Is there a particular path that one has to take to become a snowbird?
Well, I think one thing that makes our team special is that we have pilots and aircrew from a bunch of different backgrounds. The only caveat is that you need to have some ejection seat experience, which often would have been associated to flying a fighter jet like the F-18, but also applies to anyone who is an instructor on the Harvard II or the T-6 Texan like we have here in the United States. And that kind of opens it up to a lot of helicopter background, transport background, and of course our training and fighter background.
Fascinating. Any other specific stunts that you want to talk about that your team will be doing that we should all be really paying attention for?
There's a few crowd favorites. There's the Canada Burst. There's a heart that we do that's you might want to get your cameras ready for. But a couple more surprises in today, so stay tuned.
Looking forward to it. Thank you for joining us, Captain McDoodle. And I hear you have a special presentation that you'd like to do. So if we can call up our friends from Enbridge Energy, and I'll turn it over to you.
Absolutely. So the Canadian Forces Snowbirds team would just want to thank you. And on behalf of our command team, Lieutenant Colonel Jean-François Dupont and our Chief Warrant Officer, Cheryl Abernathy, and myself and Captain Ed Soy, we just wanted to present something to you. So we want to thank you for making this possible and for having us here today.
That's beautiful. Can you tell us a little bit about what it is you're presenting?
So we have our lithograph that's particular to this year, and we have the 9 aircraft formation there, and the entire team has signed below.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We can't wait to see the show. And I'm going to hang out with Paul for a little bit and talk to him. All right. Thank you for joining us. All right, Paul. Yes. Show it the crowd. It's beautiful. Paul Eberth is with Enbridge Energy, our presenting sponsor for today. Thank you for being a part of this, and tell us how Enbridge got connected with this event.
Yeah, well, thanks for having us. In fact, Enbridge sponsored this event back in 2008, and we're super excited to be sponsoring it again. We're just really excited to be part of bringing the Canadian Forces Snowbirds down to the Twin Ports.
Can you tell us a little bit about what Enbridge does here in our community?
Yeah, absolutely. Enbridge started its business 75 years ago here in the Twin Ports with a pipeline that moved oil between Canada and the United States. And what's really cool is a show like this demonstrates the value and the importance of a partnership between Canada and the United States. In fact, our business today has grown, and today we provide energy to millions of people across Canada and the United States through our oil pipeline business, our natural gas business, and our renewable energy business.
I'm going to throw you a curveball. Have you seen the snowbirds before?
You know what? I have seen the snowbirds before.
So, do you have a favorite part of the show that you're looking forward to?
You know, I don't know that I have a favorite part. Probably the venue. You know, to watch it over Lake Superior is just incredible. It's so fun to be down on the lake shore in Duluth in the summertime. And to have a free show like this for the community is just fantastic.
It really is. 16 years later, it's great to have you guys back. We appreciate everything that you've done to make this possible.
Yeah.
Paul Eberth with Enbridge Energy. Well, we're going to take a short break, so stay with us because we have plenty more ahead live here from the Duluth Air Spectacular in the Fitkers Courtyard. Welcome back to the Duluth Air Spectacular, live here from the Fitkers Courtyard. It is a beautiful day for a free air show over Lake Superior. I just want to give you a couple reminders. Today's pre-show is being live streamed at DuluthAirSpectacular.com and on the Duluth Air Spectacular social media channels. You can also listen to today's show by tuning into 560 AM or 106.3 FM on the Northland Fan starting at 4:30, so about 15 minutes. If you need any help with today's Duluth Air Spectacular information, head to the website DuluthAirSpectacular.com for viewing locations and all event information. And speaking of viewing opportunities, if you haven't found yours yet, you're still out there looking for it, we do have a map of today's Duluth Air Spectacular viewing area. You can view today's show by land or by water. If you're out on the water, though, please make sure to pay close attention to the area where you are not allowed to boat. Now, on land, the best overall views will be on the Lake Walk or the areas below Superior Street or in Canal Park. If you are looking for other areas, maybe a higher vantage point, check out Skyline Parkway. So a little quick rundown of what to expect for today. We are going to be talking with Duluth's Mayor, Roger Reinert, here shortly. We're also going to have a live presentation from the United States Coast Guard. They're going to do a live presentation right out on the water, showing us how they do a water rescue. That'll be at about 4:45. Then coming up at 5 o'clock, we're going to head over and take it live to Snowbird Central for the Canadian Force Snowbirds and their live presentation over Lake Superior. We have a special guest joining us. We're so glad to welcome to the stage St. Louis County Commissioner Annie Harla. So good to have you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Jason. It's good to see you.
I love one of my favorite things that you say is you're the county commissioner from the port to the airport. Can you talk a little bit about your district and how this really encompasses a big part of it?
Absolutely. Well, it's exciting to have my full district tied together today. Like you say, I represent the neighborhoods of Park Point all the way up through the Heights, the hillside, and everywhere in between in the central part of Duluth. So having this on our waterfront, so thankful to our sheriff's department that is supporting this and our rescue squad, and then just glad to be able to tie in the airport downtown.
It really does take a whole team, whether it's from the city level, the county level. We have the consulate general from Canada here, from Minneapolis. It's a whole team of people that really helps put this together. Were you here in 2008 when they did the air show over the lake?
You know, I had just moved back to Duluth, and so it feels like another bookend of life. We look at different seasons. I happened to move to a new house last week, and I think back of coming back here in 2008 and this happening and wondering, I wonder how that happened. And now to be a part of having this happen is really cool. Just so thankful that Kern & Company keeps bringing this back with the air show.
It's also a great opportunity to highlight a different part of the city for the air show because, you know, we were just with you a couple months ago up at the airport doing their other air show. What a different environment and a great opportunity for us to be down by the lake and highlight this amazing natural resource that we have.
Yeah. So often this is at the airport and you have to pay to see it. So what an opportunity with this beautiful city. I often think about at the fireworks. I watch them from your house and we hear everyone honking in the community. I'm looking forward to hearing and seeing people in the daytime watching this spectacular event with our beautiful lake.
And by the way, go Team USA Gymnastics.
Yes.
Annie and I have been texting for days about all the fun Olympic adventures that we've been on. Commissioner Annie Harla, thank you so much for being a part of today. We appreciate you stopping by. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Duluth Air Spectacular. We are live from the Fitkers Courtyard here on the Boat Club Restaurant patio. It is a beautiful day out here, a little hot and steamy, 86 degrees right now. Thankfully, those storms are going to let this stay away and let this show go on as planned. But a beautiful day. The courtyard is filling up with all kinds of folks ready to see the snowbirds take the sky. In about 10 minutes, we're going to be joining our friends over on 560 AM and 106.5, the Northland Fan, for a live broadcast on air, so stay tuned for that as well. But next, I'd like to welcome to the stage our Mayor of Duluth, Roger Reinert. Roger, come on up here. Great to see you, my friend. Thank you for being a part of today. So these air shows, they've been happening in Duluth for a long time, and you have been a part of a lot of these air shows. Tell us about what your connection is to these air shows.
Ryan Kern, right?
There we go. It's a mutual connection.
That's everybody's connection to the air show. No, back, and I think people take for granted that we've had these amazing air shows sort of for forever, because it's been some 20 years now, but those with longer memories will recall that there had been a few air shows. They had not gone well. In fact, organizers who had put them on had financially really gotten into trouble at the end. And so there was this extended period of time without anything that really highlighted aviation in our region. And then really kudos to Ryan Kern and his team who decided to bring them back. And so that very first one, which I think was 01 or 03, I didn't know that once you signed up to help with an air show, you were there for life.
Lifetime commitment.
So signed on first as the education director, because one of the things that I think's been great is the air shows always do more than AV, more than just the things flying, more than just military. It's civilian and education as well. And then before becoming mayor, worked as the air show public relations officer.
One of the great things I love about the Duluth Air and Aviation Expo also is it really highlights our growing aviation industry in Duluth. It is significant. Can you talk about that industry and how we've helped foster this creation of that industry?
No, Jason, you're spot on. I think one of my favorite things about the air show is it does really remind people that aviation is a core economic sector for the city of Duluth and northeastern Minnesota. I always try to remind people that Duluth is part of a region. We can't be a regional center disconnected from our region. So even if something doesn't happen to be like on our side of Haynes Road, as is the case with some of the aviation-related businesses, still good for us. But, when we have air shows, when we have things like today, we're reminded that we have Cirrus, one of our major employers here in the city of Duluth. We have the 148th. We're all so proud of our 148th Airmen, the Bulldogs, but that's also another major employer within the city of Duluth and also within our region. And then that, spins off all sorts of secondary and tertiary economic impacts within the community. And, what I don't know that most people realize is, especially because of that Cirrus and 148th connection, we end up having conversations with others who are in aviation or in adjacent businesses who are like, hey, that footprint, that infrastructure, that manufacturing expertise is already here. We'd love to talk about an idea that we have. And in fact, since becoming mayor, I've had 2 significant conversations about related projects, related research, related industry, because we have such a strong aviation presence.
Speaking of significance, this is a huge celebration for the Royal Canadian Forces. They're celebrating 100 years this year. Can you talk about that partnership with our neighbors to the north?
Well, in fact, I know Consul General Richardson is here, and the two of us had a chance earlier today to sit down for an hour and get to know each other a little bit better. I think one of my personal points of pride through my years of service as a counselor and in the legislature is I've known most of the Consul Generals through that time. Because, Jason, of exactly what you just said, our partnership with our neighbors to the north, we think of them as extended family, a lot of shared culture, shared language, some shared history. It's a really tight one. And it's not tight just because of proximity. It's tight because we share those cultural and those economic bonds. And, I always say we love to see Ontario license plates in Duluth. They're here shopping, they're here recreating. Oftentimes they're here visiting one of our 2 major hospitals. also major employers. So, we really love our neighbors to the north, and I look forward as mayor to trying to grow that economic relationship.
And even though the city of Duluth is not a direct border city, they are still a huge economic impact for us.
No, absolutely, and we might as well be, right? I mean, we're a gateway, we're a regional center, so if you're coming down south from Thunder Bay, Duluth is going to be your regional shopping center. And, truly, you see an Ontario license plate, probably 1,000 to 2,000 worth of goods are going back home with those individuals. So, we love to have our Canadian neighbors to the north come visit. And I would also just say, as somebody who's still serving, when I had the opportunity to be overseas for my year that I spent in Afghanistan, those Maple Leafs were shoulder to shoulder with us. Our strongest teammates when we were doing that work were our Canadian friends, our British friends, and our Aussies. And, and oftentimes when the U.S. needs to go and kind of put a stake in the ground somewhere, those close bonds hold and they come with us. And so we're really grateful for that.
So let's talk personal for a second.
Oh, geez.
You are a pilot yourself. Do you ever think about jumping behind the wheels or the gears of one of those planes?
Oh, of course, but they're never going to let me, right? So, no, I mean, for me personally as a pilot, I just love aviation. I love flying. So whether it's the F-16s that we see up at the 148, the Tudors that folks are going to see here today, the F-18s that the Blues are flying, the Thunderbirds. I mean, it is an honor for our community to host this. Today, what a great gift for folks not to even have to pay a price of admission, sort of be wherever you can. And I know people are spread throughout Duluth to take this in today. But yeah, there's always a little bit of envy when you see somebody else put the flight suit on, climb into the cockpit, and then do some cool stuff, which frankly would probably make me throw up. So
you could have showed up in your flight suit. Nobody said you couldn't.
Yeah.
You touched on it briefly, but this is such a great event for the city of Duluth. We're offering, the Kerns, I should say, along with their great partnerships with Enbridge and others, are offering this free. That is such a great opportunity for the city to be able to see such a spectacular thing anywhere in the city.
Well, I think two things to think about. Number one is, as you just did, we got to thank the sponsors. The only way you can do something like this and not charge an admission in order to cover costs is because businesses are willing to sponsor it and really give a gift to the community. We're fortunate this year to have had 2 air shows, right? We had one earlier this year with the Thunderbirds. Now we have this one with the Canadian Snowbirds. And I think for Duluthians, the thing that I would really just kind of foot stomp is we don't get the Snowbirds all the time. The Snowbirds fly more planes, and they fly them in a way that you can actually take them in. Your viewing window is a lot longer with the Canadian Snowbirds. So if what you really like is to see cool acrobatic information moves, this is your team, and we've not seen them for many years. We've not seen them out over Lake Superior for pushing 15 plus years. So, I'm super excited.
Duluth Mayor Roger Reinert, I appreciate you joining me. It's great to see you again. Enjoy the rest of your experience here. We're going to take a quick break, but stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Duluth Air Spectacular. We're live here at the Fitkers Courtyard, and we have a very special guest joining us now. We have the Canadian Consul General, Beth Richardson, coming up from Minneapolis. We really appreciate you being a part of today.
Thank you so much for having me. And I've just been told breaking news, which is the Snowbirds are so eager to get the show on the road that they're going to be starting a little bit earlier, about 10 minutes earlier than we anticipated.
Okay, so for all you folks who are listening to this, either on our radio station partners or online, the Snowbirds will be taking the air at 4:50. 4:50, so we got about 20 minutes. All right, so let's go back to talking about the significance of having the Snowbirds here today.
It's really a testament to the close relationship between Canada and the United States. You know, we're each other's preeminent security, defense, economic partners. We have the 148th Fighter Wing here in Duluth that does training in Canada. We have Canadian regiments that come down to the U.S. Our relationship is so strong with Duluth and with the state of Minnesota that we're just delighted the Snowbirds picked Duluth to come for their show to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the Royal Canadian Air Force.
You just touched on it there for me. This is also a big celebration for you. The Royal Canadian Force is celebrating 100 years. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. So actually, I was born on a Canadian Air Force base. I'm an Air Force brat. My father always worked on Air Force bases. It's a tremendous part of our military security and our alliance with the United States, particularly through NORAD, our Continental Air Defense System. And we're delighted to be able to showcase a little bit of what Canada has to offer.
It's really great to have you guys here. Can you tell us what does the Consulate General of Canada here in Minnesota do in particular?
Absolutely. So we're a team of about 20 people in the Twin Cities that work to foster closer relationships between Canadians and Americans throughout 5 states. So Minnesota, Iowa, Nebraska, South Dakota, and North Dakota. And part of what we're trying to do is cultivate existing partnerships and create new partnerships in the political sphere, in commercial, in businesses going back and forth, and of course people-to-people relationships like tonight is bringing us.
You get to do the fun stuff, like the air show here. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. You've seen the Snowbirds before, I'm assuming. I've asked others, can you tell us what your favorite part of their performance is?
I will tell you, the Snowbirds bring out the kid in everybody. Just the glory of going up into the sky and that sense of, that there are no limits. And so that's my favorite part.
I had the pleasure of being able to dine outside here at the patio at Boat Club Restaurant last night and got a little preview of the show. It was so great. Hearing that roar go overhead, it gives you goosebumps.
It gives you goosebumps, absolutely. And we're delighted to be able to show this to people in Duluth tonight.
Beth Richardson, thank you so much for being a part of the show today. I appreciate
it.
All right, we're going to take a quick break and then we'll get back to the action here live in the Fitkers Courtyard. Welcome back to the Duluth Air Spectacular, live here in the Fitkers Courtyard. We are having a beautiful day so far, but just keep in mind the snowbirds will be hitting the air a little bit early. 4:50 they plan to be overhead. We want to help thank our sponsors first who have helped make this event possible free of charge. First of all, our presenting sponsor for the Air Spectacular, Enbridge Energy. Thank you so much for your help. We also have commander level sponsors and partners, the City of Duluth, St. Louis County, Michaels, J.R. Jensen Construction. Our corporate level partners, Northland Fan, Cirrus Aircraft, Minnesota Power, Duluth Area Chamber of Commerce, Essentia Health, and Arrowhead Printing. We want to also thank our community level partners, the Boat Club Restaurant and Bar, RBC Wealth Management, Pier B Resort, Synovus Energy, the Consul General of Canada in Minneapolis, Fitkers, Grandma Saloon and Grill, Apex, LHB, and Northland Fitness. And of course, this Air Spectacular is produced by Kerning Company. And speaking of Kerning Company, we have one of the people behind this event, Mr. Ryan Kern. Thank you so much for being with us.
No, thanks for having me.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for having all. This is great.
So talk real briefly, if you can, about why we're moving the start up to 4:50, if you could. 4:50. The birds are going to be taking the air.
Well, I think it's a case of, there's a front that's developed, and it looks like it's going to be some rain. And so what we want to be able to do is try to get the snowbirds into the air and then have them land before it rains. I think it's a good key, right? And then we can make sure that they get a full performance in there. So that's kind of our hope.
So let's talk about it. You haven't had a free show over Lake Superior in 16 years. So why this year? What came together to make this all possible?
Well, I think it really comes down to, it's really Canada, right? I mean, they're celebrating 100 years of their Air Force, and it's their centennial. And we're very fortunate and blessed that we've developed some great relationships with the consulate and OneCat up in Canada. And so a lot of this really is great relationships and partnerships and networking. And then we were very fortunate to have a partner like Enbridge that was willing to step up and help us do this free for the community.
It's a huge undertaking. It's not just Kerning Company that puts this on, but an entire team of people. Can you talk a little bit about what it takes to put on an event like this?
Well, it was. I would say it was more complicated only because we've been working on this since November of last year, and the hard part about it, of course, is that we had working on this, but then we also had the Duluth Air Show in May. So we really had to keep this under wraps until the Duluth Air Show had concluded, simply because we didn't want to confuse people in two different events and then having them think the air show was in July, which it wasn't, it was in May. And so we were very excited to be able to announce this event with Enbridge, simply because it's so unique. Right, it's not our typical air show. It is a unique opportunity to bring tourism into the community, to have an economic impact, and we're really excited about that.
So you've been producing air shows for quite a few years. I won't give the specific number. How did you get into doing this?
Well, it's really about love for aviation. Let's just be honest, right? I mean, when you're a little kid growing up or you're a boy growing up and you've got family in the military and you're around that all the time, and then you travel and you live overseas for a bit and your dad takes you to air shows in a foreign country, it just kind of gets in your blood. And so that was always one of the things when we started Kerning Company is, doing these live events. And, my bucket list was to do the air show. And so that was, for me, really the catalyst at an early age to be like, that's the event that we're going to build around because I'm so excited about aviation and what our country's military does in supporting the men and women and veterans, and not only in the U.S. but Canada as well in our great NATO partnership.
What is different about the Canadian Force Snowbirds than the other teams that you bring to town? What can you tell us that folks are going to see different from the other teams that you've brought?
Well, I have an appreciation for the Canadian Forces Snowbirds to begin with, and so we've always had a great relationship with them. But what the argument would be is the U.S. Navy Blue Angels or the Air Force Thunderbirds, they've got 6 aircraft. The Canadian Forces Snowbirds are going to fly 9, and it is a completely different show. The two aircraft are a little smaller, but I will tell you that what they do with those aircraft are second to none. They are fantastic to watch. I know they're one of my personal favorites, and so having them here in Duluth performing is it's fantastic, and I think people are going to love what they're going to see.
Speaking of favorites, do you have a favorite maneuver or trick that we should? I've never seen them before, so you'll have to help me, give me something to look out for.
Well, without giving too much away, their finale is pretty impressive, and I think what the last maneuver they're going to do, it's pretty much a staple of the Canadian Forces Snowbirds and their demonstrations. But I mean, their pilots are well, I'll say it this way: they are consummate professionals in the way that they represent Canada and the way that they represent the Canadian Air Force. And so what you're going to see is really going to be breathtaking.
Not to push things to the next event in your head, but do you want to talk about the next air show?
You know, the only thing I'll say about that is that it's, you know, it's the 4th of July weekend next year, right? So we're going to be July 5th and 6th up at the airport. But again, it's you know, that's so far away. It's over a year away that I'm just living in the moment right now and just enjoying what we're going to witness here in a little bit.
It's over a year away, but you know you've been working on this for months and months, probably a year.
Well, we tend to work 2 years ahead. You know, so yeah, you're right. So we've been working on the July show of next year. We've been working on that since we wrapped up the May show. But again, this is an opportunity for us today that I'm really excited about.
Thank you for offering this. What a great opportunity for everybody to see a free show over one of the best lakes in the world. So thank you for doing that.
Well, I'll say you're welcome, but I really have to say we could not do this without the support of our partners, like you were mentioning earlier, and that's really what it comes down to. I mean, because we still have to absorb costs in order to do it. But the reality is that it's free, so there's no tickets, right? We're not selling tickets for the event. So what I'll say is this: without our partners that you've just mentioned, we could not do this event without them, and each and every single one of them, and whether it be providing some financial component or providing some in-kind support in order to do this, it's really the partners of the Air Spectacular presented by Enbridge that are making this a reality.
Ryan Kern with Kern & Company, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to wrap up the show and get it ready to head over to Canadian Forces Snowbird Central. Welcome back to the Duluth Air Spectacular, live from the Fitkers Courtyard. We're about 5 minutes away from having the Canadian Force Snowbirds roaring overhead. But before we get to that, I have a special guest joining us. We have Senator Grant Hochschild, who is here at the air show with us today. Grant, thank you for being with us. So the Royal Canadian Forces is celebrating 100 years. It's a great milestone for them. Can you talk about that partnership that we have with our neighbors to the north?
Yeah, I'm really proud of the partnership we have with Canada. You know, as a state senator that represents 50% of the Canadian border in Minnesota, I have a lot of things that we have in common with our neighbors to the north. You know, you think about the bridge crossings, the shoreline up by Grand Portage. There's a lot of opportunities for us to economically and culturally connect with our neighbors. And we had the General Consulate from Canada come to the legislature this year and meet with some northern Minnesota legislators to really just talk about forming a stronger partnership. So I'm really proud that they're being so proactive and now doing this event. It's just awesome to see.
And what a great economic impact for not only the city of Duluth to have this event, but our partners to the north. They bring so much economic impact to the city of Duluth on a daily basis. We see them coming.
Exactly. When you think about all of the tourism, all of the spending that Canadians do in Minnesota, that is a huge economic boon for us. And to have a friendly neighbor like this, I mean, you couldn't ask for a better situation at the international stage than to have Canada to our north. And I think there is, however, more opportunity to Minnesota to form a partnership, right? We could get even more traffic. We could have more events. We could do a lot more with Canada, and I hope to be a part of those conversations.
So on a personal note, you have not seen the Canadian Force Snowbirds like myself. What are you most looking forward for the show today?
Well, I have to joke because my son loves seeing the Blue Angels here in the United States, and he started calling these guys the Red Angels because he loves the color red, he loves airplanes. So no, I'm really excited to see them. My family's excited to see them, and I hope we get to do more opportunities like this because who doesn't want to watch planes do cool tricks in the air?
That's so great. Senator Grant Hochschild, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Enjoy the show.
Thank you.
All right, folks, we are about 3 minutes away from getting the show underway. Hopefully you have found your spot to watch the show. Of course, we are streaming this on DuluthAirSpectacular.com as well as on their social media channels. Once we actually take the show and the Snowbirds take the air, you will be able to hear the Snowbirds from Snowbird Control. So it'll be a great opportunity to hear from the team themselves and the maneuvers that they're doing over the sky, so stay with us. It is going to be getting underway about 10 minutes early because of some weather moving in. So again, we'll be taking the air at about 4:50. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to toss it over to the Snowbirds. Welcome back, everyone, to the Duluth Air Spectacular, live from the Fitkers Courtyard. The Snowbirds are in the air, and we are now going to turn it over to Captain Richard McDougall with the Canadian Force Snowbirds. Enjoy the show. We'll see you after.
Good afternoon, Duluth. Are you ready for a Snowbirds performance? On behalf of our commanding officer, Lieutenant Colonel Jean-Francois Dupont, and our Chief Warrant Officer, Cheryl Abernethy, and all members of 431 Air Demonstration Squadron, welcome to the 2024 Canadian Forces Snowbirds performance. This year, we're celebrating 100 years of the Royal Canadian Air Force. The Snowbirds are all active serving members of the Canadian Armed Forces, and the show team is comprised of 11 pilots, 10 aircraft technicians, and our public affairs officer, Captain Phil Rochon from Ottawa, Ontario. Captain Rochon wants to share your photos with the world. Follow us at CF Snowbirds on Instagram, Facebook, and X, and tag us in your posts. Your safety pilot today, to my left, is Snowbird 10, Captain Edward Soy. Prior to joining the Snowbirds, he was a standards pilot on the CT-156 Harvard II. And as a civilian pilot, he's flown and performed in a variety of vintage aircraft, including the original Harvard from the 1940s. And brings over 2,500 hours of flying experience to the team in more than 30 aircraft types. My name is Captain Richard McDougall, Snowbird 11, and I will be your narrator today. Before joining the Snowbirds, I flew the C-130 Hercules in an air refueling role, doing NORAD missions and air refueling missions around the world. I was also an instructor on the CT-156 Harvard II and bring over 2,500 hours of military flying experience to our team. Now the team is airborne, and as we wait for them to join us here at the waterfront, allow me to describe the aircraft that will be used in our performance today. The Canadair CT-114 Tudor, built in the early 1960s, served as the primary jet trainer for the Royal Canadian Air Force until the year 2000. The single J85 jet engine produces 2,700 pounds of thrust, which propels the relatively light aircraft to speeds of over 400 knots. With the exceptional maintenance it receives from a highly qualified team of technicians, the Tudor continues to serve as the perfect platform for the Snowbirds' aerial demonstrations. Here they are out in the distance to our right. Now, folks, we'll give you a glimpse behind the scenes as the team is preparing for the shakeout. This procedure starts with a 5G pull. You just saw it right there. Now they're in their negative 2G pushover, followed by a smoke check in just one moment. There it is. The team uses this to test both the aircraft and the pilots' bodies to ensure they're both ready for the show.
Salut tout le monde, c'est Philippe Laprise. On célèbre cette année le centenaire de l'aviation royale canadienne. Les habitués le savent, mais le classique au pageant aérien, c'est les Snowbirds. Les Snowbirds, c'est une escouade extraordinaire. Moi, je les appelle les magiciens du ciel parce qu'ils nous font rêver, ils nous font faire des oh, des ah, des aïe aïe aïe. Mais c'est vraiment une équipe extraordinaire.
Hello, aviation enthusiasts. My name is Rick Mercer. 2024 is a very big year for the Royal Canadian Air Force and for the men and women who proudly serve in this remarkable institution. This is a centennial year. Also being celebrated, over half a century of the Air Force doing incredibly cool dynamic aeronautical maneuvers in CT-114 Tudor aircraft. One of the greatest experiences of my life was flying with the Snowbirds. It was thrilling, it was exhilarating, and I would not do it again for all the money in the world. However, I will never miss an opportunity to stand firmly on the ground and watch this incredible team in action, hurtling through the air at tremendous speeds, close enough to one another to read each other's thoughts. The Snowbirds not only demonstrate the skill, professionalism, and teamwork that runs throughout the Canadian Armed Forces, they put on a heck of a show. And it is about to begin. It is my great honor to ask you all to look straight ahead for the 9 twinkling lights and listen for team lead Major Brent Handy as he calls for the team to check in.
Now this would normally be where the team starts their first pass. We have a 30-second delay for a medevac aircraft. We will resume this show very shortly.
I've been dreaming of flying since I was a kid. Soar higher than anyone's ever been. Side by side with 8 of my other friends. That all came true when I heard snowbirds check in. They wear the red and white. Watch for those 9 twinkling lights. Big diamond go. I hope you enjoy the show. Yeah, that's how the snowbirds roll. They're coming to a town near you. Represent the great white north, skills, family, and the truth. They're flying through the clear blue sky. Their white smoke trails behind, rolling to that sunshine. Split now when you hear the word.
So, Snowbirds, check in. 7, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1.
Here they are, straight ahead, your 2024 Canadian Forces Snowbirds.
The tide can pull us away. Don't matter where we are. 'Cause when you're inches away, heaven's never that far. I know, when I'm hollow, you take it all away and fill the empty spaces. Don't know about tomorrow, but I know that today I feel a little bit lighter when the world's heaviest.
Now, look to your right as Snowbirds 1 through 9 reposition for the inverted wedge bottom side pass.
Cause you burn with the brightest flame. And the world's gonna know your name. And you'll be on the walls of the Hall of Fame. You can go the distance, you can run the mile. You can walk straight through hell with a smile. You could be the hero, you could get the gold. Breaking all the records they thought never could be broke. Yeah, do it for your people, do it for your pride. Are you ever gonna know if you never even try? Do it for your country, do it for your name. 'Cause there's gonna be a day you
Next up from the left, you'll see the team is changing to the Condor formation for a bottom side pass. They will then pull up into a loop and change back to Big Diamond.
Cherry red, match the roses that you laid. No remorse, no regret. I forgive every word you say. Ooh, I didn't wanna leave, babe. I didn't wanna fight. Started to cry, but then remembered I can buy myself flowers. Write my name in the sand. Talk to myself for hours. Yeah, say things you don't understand.
Now, from the right, the Snowbirds are setting up for the classic Big Diamond combo, which is a roll and a loop in the Big Diamond formation. Smooth and accurate flying is essential for our two inner pilots. Flying in the inner right wing position is Snowbird 2 Captain Katie Clapp from Ottawa, Ontario. Captain Clapp previously flew the CC-130 Hercules in a search and rescue role and the CT-156 Harvard 2 as an instructor. She brings over 3,500 hours of military flying to the team. Anchored in the inner left wing position is Snowbird 3 Major Steve Tim from Surrey, British Columbia. Major Tim is a former CF-18 Hornet section lead with over 1,200 hours of fast jet experience. The backbone of our formation consists of two line-astern pilots, better known as the STEM Cats. Our first line-astern pilot is Snowbird 4 Captain Scott Boyd from Burnaby, British Columbia. He's a senior Harvard 2 flight instructor and has over 2,100 hours of flying time. Now at the tail end, cool, calm, and collected is our second line-astern pilot, Snowbird 5, Captain Thomas Thornton from Belleville, Ontario. Captain Thornton is a former Royal Canadian Artillery officer who then transferred to the RCAF. Now look straight ahead as the team honors 100 years of the Royal Canadian Air Force with the Centennial Split. From left and right, Snowbird 8 and 9 are repositioning for the Knife Edge Pass.
Starting in the level roll. Cut back, cut back.
Bang, bang, we gon' ride out. Gang, gang, we don't die out. Want it like this, ain't no timeouts. Tell me who really gon' find out. Rowdy. We get rowdy, rowdy.
I'll show you some rhythm.
As the solos exit the stage, next up from behind the crowd, snowbirds 1 through 7 will come directly overhead in Vic formation. As they pull up into a loop, watch as they first change to wedge and then to arrow formation.
Picture a place where it all doesn't hurt, where everything's safe and it doesn't get worse. Oh my, we see through bloodshot eyes. Picture a place somewhere else far away, where you know what they mean and they mean what they say to us. And would that be enough? Are we running out of time? Are we hiding from the
Get your cameras ready for this next maneuver.
too scared to fight for what we want tonight? Close your eyes and leave it all behind. When I was young, I climbed up too high just to touch the sun. On my mission, no prescription, shoot for number one. Start a riot, won't keep quiet, I'm a ride or die. Heart is pumping, keep it coming, better run it high. I was born for this, I was born for, I was born for this. I was born for this, I was born for, I was born for this.
Starting in the flip-flop. Cut back, cut back.
Next up from the right, look for the signature snowbird maneuver, the line abreast roll and loop.
The number you have dialed is not available at present. Please leave your message after the beep.
Yeah, trendsetter, whoa, league of my own, it don't get better. No, read what I wrote, I'm a bestseller. Yeah, reach for my goals, hit it dead center, hit it dead center. Bullseye, hit it the most, is no misses. Something like fish in a barrel, it's no different. Blindfold on me, I still got the most vision. Trendsetter told them before, but they don't listen. Better, bring a better bad because I'm bigger, better. Solo, single, selling several shows at every single second. Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers. Kinda came and crushed the competition, hope they get the message. Look, living it fast, spinning my M in the bag. I never go slow, thinking I'll crash. End up a thing in the past, they know I won't though. Big fish catching me, they gon' need a bigger boat. Ironic how the world stops when I spin spin the globe. Always showing up. Last year's song still holding up. See the name now and they know what's up. Price hit the top and it's going up. I'm a trendsetter. Whoa, league of my own, it don't get better. No, read what I wrote, I'm a bestseller. Yeah, reach for my goals, hit it dead center. Hit it dead center. Yeah, trendsetter. Whoa, league of my own, it don't get better. No, read what I wrote, I'm a bestseller.
Now look straight ahead for a very special maneuver. The Snowbirds would like to dedicate today's heart to all of the volunteers and everyone who made this possible for us here today. Thanks for having us. Next up from straight ahead, Snowbirds 1, 2, 3, 6, and 7 line up for the spectacular lag back cross. Now from left and right, get ready for a collaboration between the Solos and the STEM Cats. The Snowbirds present the four-way cross.
Riding in the Cobra, contact, attack.
She's leading me to ozone. Music, the great
we'd like to take this opportunity to highlight our dedicated technicians who ensure that we have safe and operational jets day in and day out. Our performance today would not be possible without these amazing members of our team. Our crew chief, Sergeant James Waitson from Reserve Mines, Nova Scotia. Snowbird 2 Alpha, Corporal Jonathan Benson from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Snowbird 3 Alpha, Master Corporal Shane Vautour from Lahr, Germany. Snowbird 4 Alpha, Corporal John Morrison from Burnaby, British Columbia. Snowbird 5 Alpha, Corporal Dustin Poirier from Kingston, Ontario. Snowbird 6 Alpha, Corporal Etienne Bilodeau from Saint-Hyacinthe, Quebec. Snowbird 7 Alpha, Corporal Chad Humphreys from Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. Snowbird 8 Alpha, Master Corporal Justin Chantadat from Mississauga, Ontario. Snowbird 9 Alpha, Master Corporal Tristan Popescu from Toronto, Ontario. And Snowbird 10 Alpha, Corporal A.V. Arsenault from Kinkora, Prince Edward Island. We also have Corporal Jaden Greer from Montreal, Quebec. Corporal Francis Hamel from Quebec City, Quebec. Corporal Mathieu Godreau from l'Abbé, Quebec. And Corporal Isabelle Gervais-Giguel from Montreal, Quebec. Let's give them a big round of applause. Now, folks, as you know, there is weather heading our way, and there's just been a bit of a pause in the show as the team assesses how much time they have left. So it looks like they've now regrouped into one large formation, and we'll do one final maneuver, which would be our our big diamond topside pass. Now, this may be our last maneuver. Flying the lead aircraft requires experience, smooth flying, and high situational awareness. From our boss, Major Brent Handy from Wyville, Ontario. He's a former CF-18 fighter pilot and flew as Snowbird 9 in 2012 and 2013. He brings over 6,000 hours of high-performance flying experience to our team. 2024 marks 30 years for the boss as a licensed pilot, and he credits much of his success to the start he received as an Air Cadet glider pilot. Here they are from the left. Get your cameras ready for the big diamond topside pass. You have now witnessed the 2,810th show in the Snowbird's 54-year history. And on behalf of our command team, Lieutenant Colonel Jean-François Dupont and Chief Warrant Officer Cheryl Abernethy and all members of 431 Air Demonstration Squadron, thank you for joining us today. It's been our pleasure and honor to perform for you.
Amazing. We want to do one more big thank you to our sponsors. If we could all put our hands together for the sponsors who helped make this amazing event happen. Our presenting sponsor for the Duluth Air Spectacular is Enbridge Energy. Our commander level partners, the City of Duluth, St. Louis County, Michaels, J.R. Jensen Construction. We have corporate level partners, Northland Fan, Cirrus Aircraft, Minnesota Power, the Duluth Area Chamber of Commerce, Essentia Health, and Arrowhead Printing. And our community level partners, the Boat Club Restaurant and Bar, RBC Wealth Management, Pier B Resort, Synovus Energy, the Consul General of Canada in Minneapolis, Fitgers, Grandma's Saloon and Grill, Apex, LHB, and Northland Fitness. The Air Spectacular is produced by Kerning Company. What a spectacular performance by the Canadian Royal Force Snowbirds over Lake Superior. Hasn't happened for 16 years, since 2008, and it was so great to see them back over the skies. We want to thank you for being a part of this special day, and a huge thank you again to our presenting sponsor, Enbridge. For the past 25 years, Kerning Company have produced all of Duluth's award-winning air shows. On behalf of Kerning Company and the Duluth Air Show, presented by Essentia Health, we are proud to announce that Duluth will once again host another major air show next summer, featuring the United States Navy Blue Angels. So mark your calendars now for July 5th and 6th as we celebrate America over the 4th of July weekend. It is the Duluth Air Show presented by Essentia Health, returning for Red, White, and Blues July 5th and 6th. So for the entire Kerning Company team, I'm Jason Vincent. Thank you so much for joining us. Have yourself a great rest of your day.